Okay, let's do it. Hey everyone, and if you're from Tanzania, then of course Jambo, and welcome to Understandable English. This is another part of the travel series that I have been doing, where I tell you a little bit about the different trips and travels that I've been on. I do this in a relaxed and understandable way so that you can learn English while also learning about the world at the same time. Today, I'm going to tell you about my trip to Tanzania. It was the trip of a lifetime, something that I was dreaming about for a long time. But first, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. My brothers and I have always loved mountains. Whether it is skiing in the winter or hiking in the summer, we have always loved mountains. And one time in our childhood, we decided that we were going to do the 7 summits, which means to go to the top of the tallest mountain in every continent, all 7 continents. Of course, this goal is kind of ridiculous. It's kind of crazy. Are we really ever going to do this? Well, who knows? But it's a fun goal and dream to have anyway. But to start our progress on this crazy goal, we decided to start with Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, the tallest mountain in Africa. So that was our first step, and this is what I'm going to tell you about today. So after lots of training and getting ready for this trip, we gathered some of our friends and flew to Tanzania. We arrived in the city of Arusha, and we spent a day or two getting used to the time and the city. We walked around, enjoyed some of the food, and looked at the different markets. These markets were a little bit crazy. Everyone was trying to sell us different things, and it seemed like sometimes you'd start to get a good deal, and then suddenly these sneaky salesmen would somehow get you to pay more for something that you were trying to buy. Or somehow they would get you to buy something that you didn't want. They were very, very good at selling things. But after we got used to everything in Tanzania, we started our climb. Our route was a little bit different. We were first going to walk around the mountain before moving up the mountain. We decided this because we wanted to see more of the nature around Kilimanjaro, and also we could get used to the high elevation that was on this mountain. You have to get used to these elevations, otherwise you might get sick. You can get altitude sickness or mountain sickness. Now, as you move around Kilimanjaro, it's very interesting to see how these biological zones or biomes change. They say there are 7 different zones or biomes, and I noticed as we went from one to the other, it was a very, very evident or obvious change. As you move up the mountain, the zones change. Suddenly, the trees are gone and you only have small plants. As you keep going, suddenly the plants disappear and all you have is like sand and little bits of moss. Typically, as you are climbing, the top of the mountain is covered by clouds. It's hidden. You can't see it. But for a couple days, we got really lucky. It was perfectly clear skies and you could see the summit or the top of the mountain. It was a little bit intimidating, but still so beautiful to see. The wildlife and vegetation or plants are very different too. Of course, when I'm hiking in the United States, I don't often see monkeys, but here on Kilimanjaro, you do. And sometimes you have to be careful. They might steal your food. They're very smart. There are also these strange trees that grow only on one side of Kilimanjaro. Nowhere else in the world do these interesting trees grow. There were also these strange plant balls that open and close when the sun shines. If there's no sun, they close. If there's sun, they open. The rocks also looked like nothing that I had ever seen in the US. It was something like an alien planet to me. Also, as you go higher on the mountain, the weather is always changing. You can have fog, sun, rain, even snow, all on the same day. As you get higher and higher, it becomes harder and harder. it's difficult to breathe because there's less oxygen and less air for you to breathe. But when you are above the clouds, it's an interesting thing to see. The sunsets and sunrises are so beautiful. The clouds turn orange and glow as the sun sets and rises. Also, the night sky is very different. I love the stars and the different constellations, and to me, to see how the moon is turned sideways and the constellations are all a little bit different in the sky, and there's new constellations that are visible. This was my first time being this close to the equator, or the southern hemisphere, so it was interesting to me to see. It also made me feel like I was definitely in a foreign place. When I'm in Europe or in the US, the sky more or less looks the same. But when I was in Tanzania, everything was different. Sometimes I didn't even recognize the stars that were above me. But as we got closer to the summit, or the top of the mountain, we had the best sunset of our whole trip. And then, well, we went to bed at only 7 p.m. because we planned to get up at 11 p.m. to start our hike at midnight. On most mountains, when you're going to the summit or the top, you typically start early in the morning because the weather is the clearest and the best. So we did this too. And we walked for 7 hours in the dark using only the moon and the stars and our flashlights to find the way. It was super cold because it was nighttime. My water bottle even started to freeze. It was hard to breathe because we were so high and you couldn't really see anything around you. But as we got closer and closer, the sun started to rise, and it was the most unforgettable, beautiful sunrise of my whole life. All of the clouds turned yellow and orange, and you could see the shadow of the mountain that you were standing on in the distance. And then suddenly, we were at the top. We did it. We were on the summit of Kilimanjaro, and the sun was up and you could see all of the beauty below you. There was beauty and happiness and celebration. It was one of the most unforgettable moments of my life. It was my brothers and I and our friends 6,000 meters above the sea level. It was such a wonderful experience. If you learned something new, feel free to press like or subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Understandable English. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Toodles.